Let us get into this week. The name on the marquee has got to be Mayra Bueno Silva, who this past weekend at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, defeated the great Holly Holm by submission via ninja choke. The official time, 38 seconds of round number 2. Mark, give us your take on how this fight played out and the finish of Bueno Silva, the biggest win of her career thus far.
Man, this was something from Mayra Bueno Silva, man. All it took was one opening, and this fight was over. And in the first round, Holly came out looking good. You know, she landed a lot of clean shots in the first minute or so. Then she went to her safe space in the clinch, where she always kind of does well to control the fight. And that's really what you could see the game plan was for her. Mayra was trying to walk her down and kind of get into that boxing range, but Holly was just continually keeping it outside range, winning at range, and then clinching anytime it got close. And it was working for a bit there. And as we got later into round 1 and into round 2, you could tell Silva was starting to get that range down a bit more. She'd land one big one before Holly grabbed her now. So she was getting a little more comfortable stepping into that range, and then boom. Next thing you know, she just freaking sneaks a ninja choke in. It's tight immediately. She has a squeeze on her. We know this, so Holly wasn't going anywhere. And she had to tap, and it's over just like that. So a monster breakthrough win for Mayra Bueno Silva, a girl who was borderline ranked off and on at 125. I think she did crack the rankings at one point, but may have even fallen back out. And now she has moved up to 135 and become a top-of-the-line contender who may even be fighting for a title at this point.
Pretty much. And that can happen on the women's side. You're string together some wins pretty much in any of the weight classes on the women's side, and you might be finding yourself in a title conversation very, very quickly in your career. So all power to Mayra Bueno Silva. I got to say, she looked, at this weight class, she looked strong in there with Holly Holm. What did I say? Buena?
Yeah.
What? Oh, my bad. Yeah, I thought she looked, for the weight, I thought she looked big. I thought she looked really strong against Holly. And once she cinched in that choke, it was game over in the second round. Early in second round, too, man.
Yep.
So that was nasty. It's called the ninja choke. Was it also called a standing guillotine or something like that?
That's how they announced it. To me, it was a ninja choke. But yeah, they announced it as a standing guillotine.
Okay. Nasty stuff, man. Nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So you alluded to that she might be marching up to a title shot relatively soon. Who do you see next as being her opponent at women's bantamweight?
So it's kind of like we got this
three-headed shot right away.
Now. It's kind of like we got this three-headed monster now in the picture for the title shot at 135 with Amanda gone, because you have Juliana Pena, of course, you have Raquel Pennington, and now thrust right into this picture, you have Mayra Bueno Silva. So I don't know what route they're going to go. Obviously, the move is to pair up two of those girls. To me, Pena and Pennington is what feels like it should be the title fight. I just feel like they, as much as this was a huge win for Silva, I feel like Pena and Pennington have done more on their resume and deserve the chance to be the first post-Nunez champ before Mayra Bueno Silva steps in there. So I would like to see that. I don't know if that means Silva just waits. The only other thing I could think of is if she fought Irene Aldana. It doesn't really feel like she should have to, but like if she was wanting to stay active and it did end up being Pena and Pennington, then I guess they could go that route. But we'll see, what they decide to do booking-wise here.
What about the preacher's daughter, Holly Holm? What do you see next as being for her next opponent at women's bantamweight?
So I actually got to check something. Usually I check this stuff pre-show, but I had a fucking crazy day of work today. What I am checking... Wow, if my internet ever wants to work. What I'm checking is if Miesha Tate is booked, because I cannot recall whether she is. Wow, my internet is terrible. What is going on? She's not. So, yeah, that's where I'm going to go. I think this would be a very fun time for a rematch between Miesha Tate and Holly Holm. Obviously, Miesha Memorably defeated her the first time for the title, right? Yeah, that was the title fight. Yes, that was when Misha won the title.
Yeah.
And I think this is the perfect time for a rematch. Holly's on a little bit of a skid. Misha's on a little bit of a skid. They both need a big win to kind of try to get themselves back in the picture here, and I think that's the best way to go about it.
That's a great idea. Ooh, love that. I mean, that's a fight night headliner right there, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Holm and Tate 2. I like that a lot.
Yep, agree.
All right. Congrats to Mayra Bueno Silva. Biggest win of her career. Second round finish over the preacher's daughter, Holm. My goodness, what a nasty choke that was. All right, moving right along, Mark, to the co-main event of this UFC Fight Night, once again at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas. In the welterweight division, Della Maddalena gets it done on the scorecards by split decision over Bassil Hafez. The scorecards read 29-28, two of them in favor of Della Maddalena, and Hafez earning his own 29-28. So first of all, who did you have winning this fight? Live, my heart was racing for JDM, wanting him to get this done and continue to march up the welterweight rankings here. So what would you take?
What a friggin' crazy fight this ended up being, man. We're all thinking JDM is getting a walk and he's going to show off again, late notice replacement. And we get one of the best fights on the whole card. I mean, what is it, Bassil? Is that how he was saying his first name? I'm forgetting now if they were saying so. Bassil or Bassil. But Hafez, I'll say, absolutely showed up and gave everything he had to get this win, and he almost friggin' did it. But he did not.
He did.
And to me, it's not really debatable. I don't think he won this fight. I saw a million people online, fighters included, tweeting about Hafez getting robbed and he won and blah, blah, blah. He did not win. He won round one, that's for sure. But from that point on, he kind of got his ass beat. Like, yes, he was standing his ground and throwing back, and that was admirable, and that was a big part of the reason he was able to stay in this fight and continue to find takedown entries, because he was not being backed away or scared away by what Jack was throwing at him. He was willing to bite down and stand his ground and throw back, and that was that countering was allowing him to get inside for his entries on his takedowns. So props to him for that. And yes, he did accrue some more time, specifically in round two, where he was on top. But you don't get much for taking a guy down and laying on him, especially not when he just fed you a casual 20-piece before you took him down, where about 10 of those 20 were snapping your head back. And then, yeah, you took him down, you were on top of him for 2 minutes, but nothing happened in those 2 minutes. So, you know, I can't see scoring that round any other way. All the damage went to Jack. And obviously no one's debating round three. It's round two that's up in the air. So to me, it was clearly a Jack round. But then to top off the fact that Jack won round two, he may have even won round three 10-8, because that round was an absolute beating where he was teeing off on Hafez. So, you know, he fought admirably. He almost pulled off something crazy, but he didn't. And that's okay. It was short notice. He was fighting a great fighter in Jack. He'll be back. He'll have another chance. And it doesn't have to be anything more complicated than that. It doesn't have to be that he got robbed. You know, Jack, yes, he showed some holes with his takedown defense early. He did seem to shore those holes up as the fight went on. He did show off his hands, as he always does, and he earned the win. So we'll see if this ends up just being a little blip in Jack's story, or if other wrestlers are going to have more success than we realized against him. But on this night, he did enough to get the W. And for what it's worth, sorry to cut you off. I had one other thing I wanted to say. Of the experts on MMA decisions, I'm going to do a little math right quick. 17 out of 19 scored it for Jack. So that is really? That.
Wow.
Yes. And of the public, only 15% scored it for Hafez. 85% scored it for Jack.
Really? Wow. That's actually a little surprising to me. Just because I thought that with the 10-point must system and those first two rounds, Jack continued to try to be a well-rounded MMA fighter, so I got to give him the props. But it seemed like time after time, when Hafez was going for a takedown, Jack would pull a guillotine. And it's like, all right, well, at some point, if this submission attempt is not happening, this could be losing in the judge's eyes, because it just winds up with him being on his butt or on his back.
Oh, for sure.
With Hafez
It
on top
cost him
of
round one
for a certain length of time. Yeah. And I thought it kind of kept happening a little too much for comfort in round 2. Now, if this was pride scoring, I think this goes without being said. If this was pride scoring or whole fight scoring, there can be no doubt whatsoever that Jack Della Maddalena kind of fucked him up throughout that fight, especially in that third round, like you said. The third round could have been 10-8. And I don't think any judge gave him a 10-8 for that round.
I just closed it, but I can go back and see. Hold on. Nope, none did.
But dude, even in that third round, when he could have finished him, but then like one last time, I think with a couple minutes left, Hafez tried to go for that takedown, I think, and I think Jack like one last time like tried to go to the back or something like that. Like everyone in the stadium and everyone who was watching was all groaning like, no, just like let him stand up. You're going to finish him in like 20, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then I think he wound up on his back one more time. So
yeah.
I was very happy though that Jack got out of there. I think you're right, and I've always been one who's like takedowns with nothing after it. I think should count for shit. But man, Hafez, he showed out, dude.
Yeah,
for the weight class, stout, strong guy, fucking great chin. Oh my god. And he went toe to toe with one of the best rising prospects at welterweight right now. With that being said, let's talk about that prospect being Jack Della Maddalena and where he should go from here, in your opinion. If you were the matchmaker of the UFC, who are you giving Jack to next?
I kind of think I'm just going right back to Sean Brady. I mean, it was an interesting booking. Most of the other welterweights are booked up. You know, I guess some of these are going to happen pretty soon, so you could see who wins and loses these fights. But to me, I think it's very easy to just go right back to that Sean Brady fight, and Jack asked for the same thing.
Yeah, and I mean, given Sean Brady, that would be a lot of the same of this fight. Sean Brady, primarily a wrestler. So Jack's going to be fighting somebody who's going to be trying to take him down pretty much the whole fight.
Yeah, a little more of a grappler than wrestler, I would say. But yes, point.
Sure.
Point of trying to bring it to the mat remains.
You want to say anything about Mr. Hafez?
Yeah, I debated if we should give him a lower level guy for him to try to show out and get a win as a reward for this. But part of me is like, man, he looks so good. I don't want to just give him someone who's like 0-2 in the UFC, you know? So I was kind of looking through. And how about someone like a Wellington Turman? I think could be an interesting clash just to gauge where Hafez is truly at.
Sure. Jack lives to fight another day. And now let's keep marching down this card. Okay, fun one. Banger in the lightweight division. Did not disappoint. Francisco Prado gets it done over Ottman Azaitar by TKO in the very first round, the official time 4:05 of round number 1. What did you make of the finish with Azaitar pleading to the ref that he was actually giving him a double thumbs up while he was getting rocked in the face? What did you think about that stoppage and the performance overall by Prado?
Yeah, overall, I don't think any of us thought that was getting out of the first round. I think we all said that last week, and it did not. Those two throw heat, and Prado got the better of it. He kind of looks like a mini Drew Dober in there to me. I don't know if you were getting that at all.
Sure.
But, he landed the beautiful spinning elbow. He cut Ottman bad. And I thought the stoppage was fine. I know it looked kind of weird, and Ottman had these thumbs up there, but he was getting rocked clean and often. So I almost feel like it was one of those where, like, I get it. The thumbs are up, but it's just repeated clean, and the ref is seeing that, and it's hard for him to be like, all right, well, this guy's thumbs are in the air, so I'm just going to let him keep eating these clean. So I don't know. I mean, it's a weird one because like a thumbs up is a fucking thumbs up. So it's like, would you like it to maybe have gone on a little more? I guess so, but I didn't hate it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. It was kind of like when guys turtle up and then they kind of protest. It's like, well, dude, you picked a bad time to turtle up. And it's like you picked a bad time to give double thumbs up as you were getting grounded, pounded into dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, let me defend myself with my hands. And then instead of defending with my hands, you use my hands to just eat a few more shots.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird.
So,
but it was a good performance from Prado,
might have said that to him.
He's Prado's an interesting guy to watch going forward. I mean, he's only 21 years old. He's got some talent.
Dude, he's so young.
Yeah.
Beautiful spinning back elbow that began that finishing sequence. I think it was the second time that he landed that in the fight. So, yeah, both of these guys are very strong lightweights who both throw heat and have a ton of finishes on their record. I have to look from last week's notes that I took. But I think Prado has all of his fights are by finish, or maybe that was Azaitar. Either way, both of these guys have a lot of knockout finishes. So the fight did not disappoint. Sometimes the fight on paper is what you get in the octagon, and this one did not disappoint.
Yep.
My heart goes out for Azaitar, dude, but we will see him again most likely. Let's talk about, though, his opponent, Francisco Prado, the Argentine. Who would be a fun lightweight opponent for him next? What do you think?
So I'm almost second guessing if I want to change who I was going to say now to move him up a little quicker. My initial thought was Esteban Ribovic, who beat Camuela Kirk last week.
Ooh.
But I'm so intrigued by Prado that I'm like, man, maybe we give him something a little more fun than that, a little more up the ladder. So now I'm wondering if a John McDessie is booked, because that would be a pretty fun striking battle and a nice veteran test to really gauge where Prado is at.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Anything you want to add about Ottman? What's up?
No, I mean we can keep it moving.
Want to breeze through it? Let's keep it moving.
Yeah, you're hearing me so delayed.
All right.
It's wild that it's still so delayed for you when
know.
you're in a wholly different place on a wholly different computer.
Yes. All right. In the middleweight division, Park Jun-young defeated Albert Duraev by submission via rear naked choke in what was a bit of a war between these two big boys. What did you think about the performance by the Iron Turtle?
I liked it, man. It was I almost picked him. I went the other way. I'm pissed at myself for not trusting Park. But it was a good one. Albert Duraev came out swinging leather here. It was definitely the most aggressive we've seen Duraev, and he kind of alluded to that. I was hearing him talk before the fight where he was like, I'm going to show things I haven't shown. And he tried, and I think it threw Park off his game a bit early, plus he had to eat some shots. But he did really well just to kind of try to settle in behind the jab and work off that in contrast to the winging shots that Duraev was throwing at him. And he managed to bloody Duraev's nose and then jumped a nasty guillotine late in the round that looked about as tight as you could get. I couldn't believe Duraev survived that. And he seemed like he was fine throughout, too. And then round two again, Duraev comes out hard. Then he gets the takedown, but through it all, Park is just calm. He's working out of bad spots, and his pressure never stops either. And he backed Duraev up. He walked him into a couple huge shots, and he patiently hunted the neck until he got it. So a very nice statement for Jun-young Park's legitimacy. He's now 7-2 in the UFC, which is a very solid record, and he has some great dance moves as well.
He does. He does. I love the variety that now we have a South Korean middleweight who is sort of marching up into the division here. Like you said, 7-2 in the UFC now, 17-5 overall as a pro. Very respectable record. Now he's notched 4 wins consecutively in the UFC over Eric Anders, Joseph Uglyman Holmes, Dennis Jalulin, and now Albert Duraev. That being said, given those names are now on his belt, who do you think he should fight next?
I'd like to see him get a bump up. I mean, it's 7-2 is 7-2. I understand he's got a loss to Gregory Rodriguez, who ended up being beaten by Bruno Ferreira and kind of has moved down the line a little bit. But his other loss is Anthony Hernandez, who we know is a beast. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I just read that properly? Yeah, Anthony Hernandez. Sorry. And for a sec, I thought I couldn't read. So, yeah, 7 wins. I feel like he deserves a shot to move up the line here. So I will say, how about we put him across from Edmund Shabazian?
Oh, baby. I like that. I like that quite a bit. All right. I mean, this basically, even though she was not one of the headliners, this was basically a Norma Dumont card. In the women's featherweight division, Norma Dumont defended her territory by defeating Chelsea Chandler by unanimous decision. All 3 judges saw it the same way, 30-27. Also, this fight giving us one of the most memeable moments in recent memory, which we can talk about a little bit. Give us your assessment, though, of Norma getting another nice W.
Yeah, she does it again, man. Chelsea Chandler was an interesting opponent. She's very strong. She brings pressure, and she's good at uglying the fight up, and she certainly tried to do that here. But Norma was just a level above the whole fight. The counters were too good. The right hand landed a ton for her. She mixed in some big leg kicks, and then she always had the takedown to turn to whenever she wanted to. Anytime the pressure got a bit more than Dumont wanted it to be, she just change levels and bring it to the mat. So it was a really nice, well-rounded performance for Norma. Yet another featherweight W to the resume. And, as you said, she hit Chandler so hard at one point that she made Chandler turn and sprint across the cage, which was a first for me. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I mean, I got to imagine in real time that I felt like Chandler was just trying to, she got rocked and she said, I got to reset on my terms and just
100%.
Take 2 steps.
Yeah.
I'm going to take 2 steps away from her, but then next she's like, it turned into 4 or 5 steps. That was like a run. And she ran straight to the cage. It was a very interesting moment that must have happened just so... Probably you think it happened slow for her or fast? I think slow.
Anyway. I think she probably ended up on the other side of the cage and she was like, wow, I'm all the way over here, huh?
Right. Oh, shit. She's still right behind me. God damn it. Norma was just better pretty much everywhere. She had just overall better striking technique. I think she had much faster hands. Even though she was giving up quite a bit of size, I don't think she gave up much strength at all. And she was better on the ground. So it was just, it was her night. Chelsea Chandler, she has a nice skill set and good attributes, I think, for the division anyway. And I look forward to seeing her back in the cage at 145. But for now, Norma Dumont rolls on here. Now notching 3 wins in a row. So she's on a nice little win streak once again. Her record now stands at 10-2. I'm still looking for that first Norma Dumont knockout. She has yet to win a fight by knockout or TKO.
Yeah, no.
That being said, who do you think could be her next opponent at women's featherweight here, which is a little bit of a thin division, always has been. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's tough to say because there's no one in the division other than Danielle Wolf, who she just beat, and Chelsea Chandler, who she just beat. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to try to convince her to come down to 135. I don't know if that's even possible for her. I don't know if they're going to sign someone from outside and try to make a title fight at 145 for obviously the vacant belt. I know she was mentioning Germaine Durandame, saying she wishes she would come back and they could fight for the belt. I know Durandame had a kid. I'm not sure if she's even been training, so I don't know if that's even realistic at all to be asking for. I don't know. I mean, maybe they take someone from bantamweight who's kind of, stuck waiting for other fights to play out. Like, say, Ketlin Vieira wins this weekend. Maybe they're like, Ketlin Vieira, we're not sure what to do with you. Do you want to fight Norma Dumont at 145 pounds? Like, maybe something like that happens. I don't know. It's a big mess, and we still don't really know how the UFC is going to handle this 145-pound thing now that Amanda Nunes no longer exists in the division.
And the UFC has removed the women's featherweight division from their website rankings. So it's just kind of like, it almost feels like these are exhibitions at some point.
Yeah, it's strange.
So,
it's definitely strange. She's got to feel like even weirder. Like, she's probably like, what is happening?
yeah, of course. I mean, she's like, I'm winning, so job security must be pretty good. How tall is she? Is she tiny? Is she short? I feel like she's tiny.
Yeah, she's not too tall. I know that for a fact. I want to say like 5'8".
Sure,
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, that's Norma?
5'7".
It's tall for any. She's 5'7". Oh wow, I thought she was much shorter.
Dude, featherweights are
She's
generally
gotta get to
taller than that. Women's
135.
featherweights.
That's true. She's got to get to 135, bro. It would be so interesting to see her at 135.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It makes you wonder because, like, she did lose to Macy Chasson. Granted, Macy's very big, and when she was able to be up at 145, she was definitely a handful. So, like, it makes you wonder where she would really slide into that women's bantamweight division. I don't know that I think she is at the tippity top of it, which I think maybe is why she's like, nah, let me fight for a 145 title. But, you know, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. All right, moving on. Lightweight division opening up the main card for this UFC fight night in the lightweight division. Nazim Sadykhov gets it done over Terrance McKinney by submission via rear naked choke. The official time, 1 minute and 7 seconds of the second round. Give us your take on the performance of, am I saying his name right? Sadykhov?
Yep.
Sadykhov?
I think it was Sadykhov.
And
yeah, now you're making me wonder too. Shit.
Always with the Slavic names.
I forget how they were saying it.
And also a lot has been said about the fence grabs that kind of led into that sequence that ultimately finished with the rear naked choke.
Yeah. So I think a few things are noteworthy here. I think McKinney losing again is just as newsworthy as Sadykhov winning. And then the fence grab is kind of its own deal as well. So I'll say for Sadykhov, tough first round, of course, but he did well to defend and then just immediately turned things around in round two. He made McKinney uncomfortable on the feet with his pressure. He won the scrambles, and then he trapped McKinney's arm to choke him out. So really well done there. That was a tough spot for McKinney with his arm trapped behind his back there. Thankfully, his arm did not get hurt in any way. As for McKinney, I think we're learning that he's a little bit of a glass cannon type of fighter. He has a ton of offensive skills. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He's got knockout power. We've seen the great finishes. But defensively, there are a lot of openings, and guys are finding them these days. So Terrance McKinney he's going to have to find a way to shore these holes up if he's ever going to deliver truly and completely on the offensive skills that he has, because they are many. But, dudes are finding ways to get him out of there lately. So he's going to have to work on that. But a really solid and legitimizing win for Sadykhov. And then as for the fence grab, I didn't even notice it live, to be honest. I only noticed it when Terrance McKinney tweeted about it. And I get his point. You know, it's hard to tell if maybe he would have been able to scramble out of that spot without the fence grab. It's hard to tell how significant it really was in that spot in terms of allowing Nazim to stay on top of him. So, yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's part of the sport, unfortunately, that these things happen and don't get caught at times. Seems like it's happening more and more that fence grabs don't get caught. But yeah, definitely, I feel for McKinney in that.
They don't get caught, and it seems like they don't get penalized as they should sometimes. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, his 3 losses, Terrance McKinney, his record in the UFC is now 500 record, so he's 3-3 in the UFC. He's lost 3 of his last 4. But those losses were to 3 very good lightweights. Drew Dober, Ismail Bonfim, and now Nazim Sadykhov. So Sadykhov gets another feather in his cap, and he marches up the lightweight rankings, Mark. Who do you see being his next opponent?
So I will actually say Ismail Bonfim. Sometimes
let's go.
Sometimes I try to stay away from matching 2 up-and-coming guys against each other, but I just think that is a really intriguing and fun fight. They obviously both have the win over McKinney. That's where I'll go.
I get you. Sometimes it can be nerve-wracking when two risers, 2 up-and-comers face each other, kind of like when Sarukian and Gamrot face each other. It's like, God. But then you also get the feeling that it's like these 2 guys may very well face each other again one day.
Yeah.
So it's all right.
Agree.
All right, let's toss the rest of these fights, or a select number of them from the prelims of this UFC fight night, into something like a lightning round. Let's call it prelim notes. So, what do you want to start with, Vieira?
So are you going to touch on some of these as well, or is this me kind of just rattling off any thoughts I have?
Oh, I can touch on them too. Yeah, I can touch on them too.
All right. Would you like to start on something that you'd like to know?
Let's start with the featured bout with Melsik Baghdasaryan and Tucker Lutz. It was, I thought, a great fight. 2 tough guys, but I thought Baghdasaryan was just better everywhere. Great hand speed, great kicking speed from Baghdasaryan, and I'm looking forward to what he's got next at featherweight.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this fight showed nice growth from Melsik because we know what a nasty striker he is. He's a high-level striker. The question was, in this one, was whether or not the wrestling could guide Lutz to a win. And it easily could have if Melsik didn't battle out of some of the tough spots and battle to take back rounds after being taken down the way that he did. But he did, and he was able to pull away more in the striking as the fight went on, too. So it was nice to see that from him, some good progression as he kind of works his way up here.
Yeah, just prior to the Baghdasaryan Lutz scrap was one of the more gruesome arm injuries that I've seen in MMA. In the women's strawweight division, Victoria Dudakova defeated, it counts as her winning the fight. She defeated Estela Nunes by TKO via arm injury at 34 seconds into the very first round. Hate to see it. Up until that point, it's too little time had gone by to really feel like either woman was pulling away or defeating the other one. But Dudakova, she got a single leg and kind of whipped her around, and Estela Nunes came down at an awkward angle, posting on, I think, her left arm, and her elbow just completely snapped out of the socket. I think it seemed like it was a pretty clean, like a dislocation, and I think they popped it right back in at the hospital. So thank God, but scary stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was awful to watch. It's crazy that they were able to just pop that right back in, but yeah, that was a bad one. I mean, completely dislocated. She's like legit yelling in pain. It was tough, and it sucked too because I've always liked her striking a lot. She's 0-3 now. She's 0-4 in the UFC, so I was surprised she got a 4th chance after being 0-3. Now, does she get a 5th chance? Like, you'd kind of hope so. If they were going to give her a 4th, why not a 5th now? Because this wasn't her fault. But I've always liked her striking so much that I was like, man, I wish she could get a win and hang around. The problem is the ground. And here, I mean, my God, the second it hit the ground, it went south for her. So, you know, this sucked. Didn't learn a thing about Dudakova, so we'll see what she brings next time out. But, yeah, just right. a brutal dislocation.
Yeah, man. Speaking of somebody being better just about everywhere, in the featherweight division, Melquizael Costa defeated Austin Lingo by UD, 2 30-27s and 1 30-26. Man, Melquizael Costa, man, he looked great over, I'll say, got to give him his props, Also, Lingo, a very tough guy. He hung in there with a Brazilian fighter who was much more athletic, just better overall on the feet, better striking technique. And he was lucky he didn't get finished. What do you think?
Yeah, Costa's pretty good, man. He delivered on what he showed signs of in his debut against Moises. He switches stances with ease. He keeps the pressure. He varies the attacks and the levels of the attacks. He's a fun guy to watch. He landed about a jillion body kicks. I actually thought he was going to get Lingo out of there in round 1 at one point. But Lingo had zero thoughts of quitting, so give him credit for that. But a nice showcase for Costa. The dexterity with the kicks is really notable for him.
Lingo's now 3-2 in the UFC, so hoping that he gets a favorable matchup and that he can stick around because I love his toughness.
Yeah, he's a tough guy.
Let's talk about that lightweight battle between Evan Elder and Genaro Valdez. Elder took it on the scorecards by unanimous decision, 2 29-28s and 1 30-26. What'd you make of that scorecard, Mark?
I thought Elder won every round. I didn't see a 10-8 live. Now, I didn't even realize they scored it a 30-26. It almost makes me want to watch it again. I don't think I caught that when they were reading the scores. I thought Elder won every round. He came out and set the tone here immediately, dropping Valdez in the first 15 seconds. The pace between the two of them never really let up, and Valdez was live with his boxing throughout, and obviously managed to drop Elder pretty bad in round 2. But I do think Elder looked like the more complete fighter and was ahead for most of the fight. I even thought he came back to take that round, at least when I was watching live. But even if he did drop that round, he certainly won the other 2. But yeah, fun fight. Elder earned it. There was no late cut to take it away from him in this one like there was in his last fight against Nazim Sadykhov, where he was up 2 rounds before he got cut and lost that fight. So thankfully for him, he now gets on the board here in the UFC.
Yeah, I thought this was a great fight, and it was great showing for both of these guys. I think Valdez will be back. I think he's also a very talented new lightweight. But Elder showed out, man, and he got that 130-26. It's funny too because if he got a 30-26, why did Jack not get that 10-8 in that third round in the co-main? Come on.
Great point.
Thank you. All right, let's talk about split decision in the flyweight division between Azat Maxim getting the nod over Tyson Nam. What do you think?
So I didn't see these last 3. I don't know if you did. These are the 3 that I told you I was going to watch earlier, and then you had mentioned that we wouldn't go through all the prelims. So I was like, all right, I'll watch them. I'll watch them tomorrow or something. So I still haven't seen these, so I can't really talk on them.
I watched these last 3 quickly, and I'll just say that I thought that Tyson Nam, I thought his boxing was great. I thought these guys were very evenly matched. It was mostly a stand-up battle. I thought that Nam has great technique, but he seemed almost a little too patient, if I can be so bold to say that. He finally caught him, I think, in the third round, but it was too little too late. So, yeah, Maxim is just more aggressive, and it paid dividends overall, and he got the nod on 2 scorecards. Munoz also, that was a lightweight bout that looked like a middleweight bout. It was like Jesus, these 2 guys are lightweights. They moved kind of like middleweights. They both were like bigger guys. Munoz was also better just about everywhere, but I thought he was also very, very patient. He finally dropped Deaton in the third round, and he did his best to go for the finish, but trying to pound him out, but did not get the stoppage, but he did get the win on the scorecards. And then in the women's bantamweight division, notice to the bantamweight division, a new contestant has entered the arena. Alin Perez absolutely beat the brakes off of Ashley Evans-Smith from bell to bell, and very much looking forward to her next outing.